Welcome, Karen. Thanks so much for coming, and thanks so much for offering to moderate this panel. I know you've got an incredible multicoloured past, and you're doing some amazing things now. Do you want to talk briefly about that?
Yeah, I would love to. My background is I've been in sales and go-to-market for over 15 years in tech. I started off as a developer, so I joke to say that I'm a recovering developer. So the positive thing is I know technical, but I've done sales for PeopleSoft, JasperSoft, Sugar. I've built out partnerships. I've built out strategic partners with Intel, IBM. And most recently, I've been in the blockchain space. I was a COO for a gaming company. And currently what we're working on is a platform that enables VCs and angels to provide productivity and efficiency. So personally, let's get more deals done by both women and men, and just really how can we empower the entrepreneur and how can we empower the VC so that the money has been used better.
Well, in Silicon Valley, it's like a major piece of the puzzle, and it consumes a lot of startups' time or CEOs' time with the funding process. So I'm sure it'll be fantastic. So tell me, the theme tonight, Women in Crypto, what do you think have been the challenges that you've faced as a woman, and particularly as a developer earlier, in this startup ecosystem?
I think as a woman, the interesting component is that we are much more consensus basis. When I go into a meeting, I'm looking to drive consensus around and not just say this is the way it is. And so over the last 15 years, I've actually seen the evolution of companies driven to more of a consensus as opposed to just listen. And also, I've also seen where other women or allies support each other, meaning if someone's being talked over, they halt that person and allow that person to speak up. So those are some of the challenges that I've seen. And I think as a developer, I will say I was one of the very few developers in a sea of many. I tell the funny story is that a partner gave me a subscription to Sports Illustrated and said, "This is the key for your success. And if you read this, you'll be able to talk about anything to the guys." And so I learned a lot about, I've always been a huge college basketball fan and tennis fan, but now I am a huge sports fan, and it has served me well.
I bet it helps talking to the guys. I don't know anything about sports, so I'm useless.
It solved all of the problems, as a 22-year-old coming out of college. Yeah. It filled a gap, and I'm actually grateful for that partner to recognize that would be a great fulfillment. And it helped along the way.
Yeah. And you did mention about ageism. I know I struck that when I visited Australia in 2009, was amazed that, they say, "Oh, you've just got too much experience." But what it means is you're too old. Can you tell me a bit about that?
So I think the interesting thing is that I'm currently a mentor at the Blockchain Berkeley Accelerator. And this morning I'm working with ZKS. It's an IoT blockchain. And we were talking through go-to-market strategy, et cetera. And the interesting thing there is I realized that what ageism is it just means that I've actually worked a lot and I have a lot of knowledge that now I can give back. And so one of the things for me that's really critical is actually giving back to the community and giving back to entrepreneurs like GKS, who is just right out of school and just beginning their entrepreneur journey. And so what was helpful is they needed advice of how to deal with an advisor. And because of what my background, I was able to help them secure an advisor, a very prominent advisor for their system. And I think that kind of goes into women in blockchain and technology, is that naturally we as women are very empathetic. And so in some ways, I think that we succeed in sales a lot because it's much easier for us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. And I'm not saying that not only us, but men as well, but that's what you need to succeed in sales and to move forward. And so I think it comes naturally to a lot of women. So that empathy, putting in sales so that you can return and figure out, how do I pitch them? How do I close this deal? How do I move forward my agenda? and so that we can have a win-win for both. The customer can win and we can win.
And the ability to engage too. I think women have an ease with that sometimes some men are challenged by.
Right.
Can you tell me what opportunities you've seen that women can access in the blockchain space?
I think the interesting thing for me in the blockchain space that's very different and exciting is the community is embracing. There are meetups every night. The meetups, when you go, there's always someone to speak to, like yourself. The evolution of social media has really proposed that anyone can own something and anyone can have opinion and speak out and go. And that's really changed how the opportunities that are available to women. So women can find other women to provide mentorship. They can start a company. They can be developers. There's a lot of resources around training for technology. They can go into community sales. It's really, I think, up to the person. What do they want to do? And then finding the resources.
I know when I first came here 9 years ago, I did a year's project on why women are funded less than men and video interviewed VCs and women founders and put an ebook together at the end of that year of summary.
Wow.
It was a wonderful year of being in the flow, but it was also such an eye-opener for me. Nice to be one of the voices in those days raising awareness, but it was an eye-opener what the issues were for women. And a lot of them didn't relate to me, but it was amazing to find out those issues. And I think, it's much more complex for women because of different reasons, yeah.
Absolutely. And so myself as a female founder, one of the things that our company's startup roll call is really focusing on is not only producing a product, but also producing a community through Facebook and Twitter of pushing out important information. Because one of the issues as a founder and an entrepreneur is you have 1,000 things to do, only the time to do 100.
Yeah.
So if we can curate some of the information, the most valuable information. So one of the posts that I put out that people are responding to is there is a section D that the SEC puts out that says who just raised money. So what does every founder want to know? What fund has just been funded? And so I didn't know about that before I heard about it on a podcast, and I said, this is amazing. Let's push this out. And it's gotten a lot of response.
Right. So where do you think we're headed for the future with blockchain, just generally?
So for me, I am a huge proponent of enterprise blockchain. Perhaps it's because I come from the enterprise space, but my particular passion really has to do with the marrying of IoT and blockchain, because what it does is it creates a seamless, truthful piece of information. And so if I have sensors collecting data and then I have a blockchain to actually push it out so a lot of people can access it, we're really transforming how enterprises deal with this. And so I personally am committed to the enterprise space, and I see supply chain being one of the very first pieces that is being addressed via the IoT.
Fantastic. Well, I think the future's bright, hopefully, and really appreciate you coming tonight. So looking forward to the panel.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for all you've done in this space.
Thank you.